Discipline is not what most people think it is. They imagine it's just brute force, waking up at 4 a.m., grinding until collapse, punishing yourself until the body breaks. They believe discipline is endless sacrifice without reason, and because they believe this, they fail. They think motivation will save them. They think hype will carry them. They think a temporary high will last through permanent storms. That's why their promises to themselves vanish like smoke. That's why they fold at the first sign of resistance. Understand this truth. Real discipline is not chaos. It is structure. It is a weaponized system. A framework forged in fire, unshakable because it rests on 3 unbreakable edges: pain, purpose, proof. Miss even one side, and the structure collapses. Ignore one edge, and your foundation crumbles. That's why people quit. That's why people burn out. That's why they break when the battlefield gets bloody. But you came here because you don't want to break. You came here because you want to build the kind of life most only fantasize about. You came here because some part of you knows there is more inside of you than you've been showing. And if that's true, then listen carefully, because this is the triangle that will carve you into something unrecognizable to your past self. Pain, the first edge, the most brutal, the most feared. Pain. Most spend their lives running from it. They medicate it, distract themselves from it, pretend it doesn't exist. But let me tell you something. Pain doesn't vanish just because you avoid it. It waits, it festers, it grows teeth, and one day, it will find you. So you must choose your pain, because pain will come regardless. The only question is whether you take control of it or let it control you. Growth does not live in comfort. Strength does not live in ease. Everything you truly want, freedom, wealth, legacy, respect, it hides behind suffering. And the toll to pass through that gate, it is agony, it is discomfort, it is sacrifice. The weak will not pay. They are too cheap, too fragile. They flinch at the cost and retreat into mediocrity. They hide in safe zones where nothing grows. They live half-lives, breathing but never burning. But warriors, we walk into the fire willingly, because we understand that pain is not punishment. It is the forge. Every scar is proof that we paid the toll. Every wound is evidence that we chose the harder road and survived it. So here is your challenge. Stop dodging discomfort. Stop hiding behind excuses. Pick one battle that terrifies you. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's personal, maybe it's creating something you've been too afraid to unleash. Commit to it daily, not once a week, not when I feel like it. Every day. And when the whispers creep in, this hurts too much. Maybe you should stop. Maybe you should slow down. Maybe you don't need to go further. Laugh in their face. Because the pain is not a warning sign. It is confirmation. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. But remember this. Pain without direction is not discipline. It is just suffering. That's where the second edge of the triangle comes in. Purpose. Pain will bring you to your knees if you have no reason to endure it. Without purpose, agony becomes meaningless torture. That's why most people quit. Not because it was hard, but because they had no reason to keep going when it got hard. Purpose is the flame that transforms suffering into fuel. It's what turns chaos into clarity. It's the difference between collapsing under the weight and standing tall beneath it. Ask yourself, who is this really for? Why am I enduring this? What is the cause worth bleeding for? If your answer is shallow, money, vanity, ego, it will crumble under fire. You'll talk big when it's easy, but you'll vanish when the storm comes. But if your answer is tied to something sacred, family, freedom, honor, legacy, then your pain becomes fuel. Suddenly, every strike against you sharpens your blade. Suddenly, every failure becomes proof that you will rise again. When you make your purpose bigger than yourself, you stop quitting. Because it's one thing to disappoint yourself. It's another to look into the eyes of those who depend on you and know you failed them. That weight will carry you farther than selfish ambition ever could. Write your why down. Carve it into your mind. Read it daily. Let it be the shield you raise when life throws its hardest blows. Because with purpose, pain becomes power. Without it, pain becomes prison. But purpose alone is still only potential. It is a seed. What makes it real is what you do next. That's where the third edge of the triangle locks everything into place. Proof. Pain hardens you. Purpose fuels you. But proof transforms you. You can talk all day about who you're going to be. You can fantasize about the empire you'll build, the life you'll live, the person you'll become. But words mean nothing without receipts. Show me the proof. What did you do today? What did you do this week? Where is the evidence that you are who you claim to be? Confidence is not built on wishful thinking. It is built on victories stacked like bricks, one after another, until you have built an unshakable fortress around your mind. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you lay another stone. Every time you show up when you didn't want to, you add another layer. This is how proof works. It silences doubt. It drowns out the lies of weakness. It replaces the question, "Can I?" with the statement, "I already did." Keep your promises, even the small ones. Especially the small ones. Because small promises become habits. Habits become identity. And identity is what builds unstoppable confidence. Stop aiming for perfect. Aim for consistent. Stop bragging about your plans. Show your actions. Stack the messy wins. Even if it's ugly, it's still proof. Because when the next storm arrives, and it will, you won't crumble. You won't need to hype yourself up. You'll already know you are the kind of warrior who survives, because you have proof written in scars, in sweat, in relentless follow-through. The warrior's path. This is the discipline triangle. Pain, purpose, proof. The three blades that sharpen you into something unbreakable. Together, they form a system that doesn't collapse when life turns hostile. Together, they turn discipline from a heavy burden into a way of life. So when the world throws you into the fire, don't run. Don't beg for mercy. Stand tall. Welcome the flames. Laugh at the storm. Because you know the truth. Pain is fuel. Purpose is the torch. Proof is the crown. And with all three, you are unstoppable. Be the one who smiles when it gets hard. Be the one who thrives where others break. Be the one who chooses the warrior's path when everyone else hides in comfort. Because at the end of the day, only those who master pain, purpose, and proof will rise from the battlefield undefeated. You've heard the framework. You understand the triangle. Pain, purpose, proof. But knowledge alone is nothing. The world is filled with people who know what to do and still rot in mediocrity because they never act. This is where the line is drawn. If you want discipline to stop being theory and start becoming identity, you must translate it into action. You need steps you can live by, commands that cut through hesitation and force you forward. So here it is, 6 steps forged in fire. 6 actions that, if followed without compromise, will etch discipline into your very bones. Take them seriously and they will weaponize your life. Ignore them, and you'll sink back into the comfort you claim to despise. Now let's begin. Step 1. Choose your pain. Step 1. Choose your pain. Most of humanity spends their entire lives fleeing from pain. They don't call it that, of course. They give it pretty names like comfort, balance, or self-care. They convince themselves that avoiding discomfort is the sane thing to do. They shield themselves in shallow routines, safe jobs, half-lived relationships, and empty distractions. They medicate with entertainment, scrolls of digital noise, and substances that dull the sting of existence. But deep down, they know what they're really doing. Running. Running from the pain of discipline. Running from the pain of growth. Running from the pain of self-confrontation. But here's the brutal truth. You cannot escape pain. It finds you anyway. Life will break your body. Life will betray your plans. Life will strip away comfort at the exact moment you cling to it most. And when it happens, the ones who spent their lives hiding from difficulty collapse instantly because they never built the strength to endure. So the first step toward real discipline is not avoidance. It is selection. You must choose your pain. The illusion of choice. At first, this sounds counterintuitive. Why would anyone willingly walk into suffering? Why would you deliberately sign up for hardship when the whole world is built around making things easier? Because you are already paying a price. Every day you choose comfort, you accept another cost. The cost of weakness, the cost of regret, the cost of living a life beneath your potential. Think about it. The pain of the workout, or the pain of disease. The pain of budgeting, or the pain of financial slavery. The pain of hard conversations, or the pain of broken relationships. The pain of discipline, or the pain of regret. You cannot escape pain. You can only trade one form for another. The coward chooses the kind that rots them slowly. The warrior chooses the kind that forges them into something unbreakable. So the real choice is simple. Pay now, or pay later. Suffer with meaning, or suffer in misery. Pain as the entry fee. Every prize in life demands its toll. Success is expensive. Legacy is expensive. Freedom is expensive. Do not misunderstand. These things are not denied to you. They are offered freely, but only to those willing to bleed for them. The world doesn't care how badly you want it. Desire is cheap. The universe only asks one question. What are you willing to suffer for? And here lies the secret. Pain is not a punishment. It is the entry fee. The stronger your dream, the higher the price. Want strength? Prepare for pain. Want wealth? Prepare for rejection, failure, and long hours. Want freedom? Prepare to sacrifice comfort, safety, and certainty. Want legacy? Prepare for loneliness, ridicule, and years of invisible labor. Each outcome is locked behind a door of agony. The weak die at the threshold. The disciplined walk through. The warrior's relationship with pain. For the undisciplined, pain is the enemy. For the warrior, pain is the ally. This is not about masochism. It's not about enjoying agony for its own sake. It's about understanding that pain carries information. It tells you where you are weak. It tells you where you must grow. It points to the exact places you've been avoiding. The muscles, mental, physical, spiritual, that you have left undeveloped. When you encounter pain, you have found your frontier. You have located the precise territory where the next version of yourself must be built. That's why warriors seek it. Because pain is the compass. Pain is the signal. Pain is the doorway. How to choose your pain. This is where most fail. They mistake movement for progress, activity for growth. They throw themselves into busyness, chasing tasks that don't matter, avoiding the real challenges that would transform them. Choosing your pain means identifying the single battle that scares you most, the one that makes your chest tighten when you think about it, the one that makes you hesitate, the one you keep finding excuses to delay. That is your pain. That is your assignment. Maybe it's physical, committing to a body transformation, to daily training, to rebuilding your strength. Maybe it's creative, launching the project, writing the book, building the business. Maybe it's relational, having the conversation you've avoided for years, drawing the boundaries you've been too afraid to enforce. You already know what it is. The fact that your mind is scrambling to avoid it right now is the proof. Your task: pick it, name it, commit to it, and then step into the arena. Daily hard, the ritual of pain. Once you've chosen, you must ritualize it. Pain works when it is consistent. One great act of bravery followed by weeks of avoidance changes nothing. What carves discipline into your bones is daily hard. Every day, do the thing that makes you uncomfortable, no matter how small, no matter how inconvenient. Daily exposure is what rewires the nervous system. It's what takes pain from something you fear to something you crave. Because here's what happens. At first, pain feels unbearable. But over time, you build calluses on your mind. Your tolerance grows. And then something miraculous happens. You begin to find energy inside the very thing you once dreaded. Daily hard is how you prove to yourself that you are not fragile. It's how you shift from, "I hope I can handle this," to, "Of course I can handle this. This is who I am." The mental reframe. Every time discomfort arrives, most people flinch. They think, "Why me? Why now? This is unfair." You must flip the frame. When pain shows up, your response must be, "Good. This is the signal. This is the price. This is the path." Others run from the storm. You walk into it, knowing the storm is what will make you strong. This reframe is everything. When you learn to see pain as progress, you stop avoiding it and start chasing it. And once you chase it, you become unstoppable. Because no matter what life throws at you, you will not break. Practical implementation. Here's how you begin. Identify the fear. Write down the challenge you've been avoiding. Be honest. If it makes you nervous, that's the right one. Commit publicly. Tell someone. Announce it. Once others know, you cannot quietly retreat. Daily exposure. Break it into daily steps. If it's the gym, go daily. If it's creating, publish daily. If it's discipline, track daily. Reframe the struggle. When discomfort arrives, say to yourself, "Good. This is proof I am exactly where I should be." Stack evidence. Record your daily progress. Watch the list of receipts grow. Review weekly. Reflect on the pain you chose and what it taught you. Every week, increase intensity. This is not optional. This is war. Closing the step. So here's the first step of your discipline triangle. Choose your pain. Stop waiting for life to hand you comfort. It never will. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. They won't. You are already in the arena, whether you like it or not. The only choice you have is whether you walk in willingly, sword in hand, or whether you are dragged in screaming. If you choose your pain, you turn it into power. If you run from it, it will consume you anyway, only this time without meaning, without progress, without honor. So pick your challenge, face it daily, and when you bleed, when you sweat, When you suffer, smile, because you are paying the toll. You are buying your freedom. Pain is not your enemy. It is your forge. Step 2. Train with daily hard. Discipline cannot survive in the land of sometimes. It withers in half measures, in promises of tomorrow, in the comfort of when I feel like it. Weakness thrives on irregularity. Mediocrity hides behind inconsistency. And yet this is how most live. Sporadic bursts of effort, followed by long retreats into laziness. That is not discipline. That is theater. That is self-deception. Discipline is built in the daily rhythm of doing the hard thing. Not once, not twice, not when convenient, but every single day until it becomes a reflex. This step is where the pretenders fall away. Anyone can summon courage for a moment. Anyone can push once when the mood strikes. But only the warrior learns to walk willingly into discomfort every day. That's what forges identity. That's what sharpens the edge. Why daily hard matters. Your nervous system is a creature of habit. It adapts to whatever you repeat. If you avoid difficulty, your body and mind adapt to weakness. If you confront it daily, they adapt to strength. This is why sporadic effort fails. If you only show up when you feel strong, you teach your mind to associate effort with convenience. But when you show up in weakness, in fatigue, in frustration, you are teaching your mind a different lesson. I act regardless of how I feel. That shift is everything. Because life doesn't ask permission before it throws storms at you. If your discipline is conditional, it will break the moment conditions turn hostile. But if your discipline is daily, unconditional, automatic, it cannot be broken. This is why warriors don't train when it's easy. They train when it's hard. They train especially when they don't feel like it. Because they know that discipline built in comfort is fragile, but discipline built in suffering is unshakable. The psychology of repetition. Daily hard is more than ritual. It's psychological reprogramming. Each day you push into discomfort, you are carving new grooves into your mind. At first, it feels unbearable. Every rep, every early morning, every task resisted by your emotions feels like climbing a mountain with broken legs. But with repetition, the mountain shrinks. Your nervous system adapts. Your threshold increases. Soon the impossible becomes normal. What once felt unbearable becomes your baseline. And that's the secret. Discipline is not about making the hard thing easy. It's about making yourself stronger than the hard thing. Repetition is how you turn extraordinary effort into ordinary identity. That's why daily hard matters. It is less about the action itself and more about who you become because of it. The default setting of hard. Weakness defaults to easy. Every decision, every fork in the road, they look for the shortcut, the loophole, the path of least resistance. That's why their lives collapse. Your task is to rewire your default. You must become the kind of person who instinctively chooses the harder option. Not sometimes. Not when it looks glamorous. Always. You're tired and want to skip the gym? That's the moment to go. You're anxious and want to avoid the call? That's the moment to dial. You're uninspired and want to postpone the work? That's the moment to create. This is what separates warriors from the masses. When things are hard, we say good. Because difficulty is the signal that others will quit. And when they quit, the battlefield belongs to us. Building your daily hard ritual. Discipline is not built in grand gestures. It is forged in ritual. You must select one act of daily hard that becomes your anchor. Something so consistent, so unavoidable, that it tattoos discipline into your nervous system. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler and more measurable, the better. Daily physical training, daily creation or publishing, daily study, journaling, or self-reflection, daily cold exposure, fasting, or discomfort ritual. The point is not perfection. The point is exposure. Every day you must deliberately step into discomfort until the act itself becomes your identity. The anchor is proof to yourself. I am the kind of person who chooses hard. Reframing resistance. Every day you will feel resistance. That voice in your head whispering, skip it, delay it. You don't need this today. You must learn to hear that voice as the trigger. Resistance doesn't mean stop, it means go. Resistance is the signal that this is exactly the moment to act. The weak hear resistance and retreat. The warrior hears resistance and attacks. When you train yourself to respond this way, something shifts permanently. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You stop living under the dictatorship of your feelings. You stop asking permission. Daily hard becomes less about discipline and more about defiance. Defiance against weakness, against excuses, against a soft voice begging for comfort. Scaling intensity. At first, the daily hard will be small. It must be, because consistency matters more than intensity in the beginning. The goal is not to impress. It is to rewire. But over time, you must scale. The same discomfort that once felt unbearable will soon feel ordinary. And when it does, you must escalate. Heavier weights, bigger goals, sharper risks. This is how you grow. This is how you ensure that your edge never dulls. If the daily hard becomes too easy, it is no longer training. It is maintenance. Maintenance is death. The warrior increases the load, knowing that strength only grows at the border of discomfort. Practical implementation. Here's how you implement daily hard. Pick your anchor. Choose one act of discomfort you will perform daily. No excuses. Make it measurable. Set a time. Build it into your schedule like a sacred ritual. Non-negotiable. Track it. Record each day. Visual proof stacks momentum. Reframe resistance. When the urge to quit arrives, say, good. This is exactly why I must do it. Scale gradually. As you adapt, increase intensity. Keep yourself on the edge. Never break the chain. The greatest victory is consistency. Protect the streak at all costs. Closing the step. Step 2 is where talk dies and reality begins. Step 2 is where dreamers quit and warriors emerge. Because anyone can fantasize about greatness, but only the disciplined live it. And the price is daily hard. Do not skip. Do not negotiate. Do not delay. Every day is the battlefield. Every day is the test. And every day, you must win by choosing the harder path. Because when you choose hard daily, when it becomes your default, when it burns into your bones until it's no longer a question but a reflex, then, and only then, will you know what it means to be unstoppable. Step 3. Define your purpose. Pain will test you. Daily hard will grind you. But here's the truth. Without purpose, you will eventually collapse. You can endure discomfort for a while, maybe even push past a few obstacles out of pride or ego. But when the storms grow violent, when the nights feel endless, when the weight of the world presses down on your lungs, your ego will not be enough. Your pride will shatter. Your good intentions will scatter into dust. That is why you need something greater. Something beyond yourself. Something that burns so fiercely in your chest that no storm can extinguish it. That something is purpose. Purpose is not a luxury. It is oxygen. Without it, you suffocate in your own suffering. With it, you can crawl through fire smiling, because the flames are not meaningless. They are proof that you are still on the path. Why purpose matters. The weak confuse goals with purpose. They think chasing money is purpose. They think chasing recognition is purpose. But those are shallow rewards. They fade. They crumble under pressure. When difficulty arrives, and it always does, shallow goals turn to dust. How many start the year with resolutions, with diets, with ambitions to change their lives, only to give up at the first taste of hardship? Not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked a reason. Purpose is the why behind the suffering. It is the reason you bleed. It is the anchor that holds you steady when everything else pulls you apart. Without purpose, pain is unbearable. With purpose, pain is fuel. Ego goals versus purpose goals. You must learn the difference. Ego goals are about you. They exist to inflate your pride, to impress others, to satisfy your vanity. They are fragile. They collapse the moment the cost outweighs the applause. Purpose goals are bigger than you. They serve a principle, a mission, a cause, or the people you love. They endure because they are not chained to your moods or your insecurities. Which one do you think will carry you further? The goal of looking good at the beach? Or the goal of living long enough and strong enough to protect your family? The goal of impressing strangers on the internet? Or the goal of leaving a legacy that your children can stand upon when you are gone? The warrior always chooses purpose over ego, because purpose cannot be broken by the opinions of others. Pain without purpose is suffering. You can suffer endlessly without progress if you do not know why you are enduring. This is why people quit. Not because the task was too difficult, but because they had no reason to keep walking into the fire. Have you noticed that you can endure far more pain when it serves someone you love than when it only serves you? When it's just about you, weakness has room to bargain. It's not worth it. I've done enough. No one will know if I quit. But when someone you love is depending on you, the option to quit disappears. You would rather die than disappoint them. That is the power of purpose. It makes quitting dishonorable. It makes failure unacceptable. It makes every ounce of pain meaningful. How to discover your purpose. Most wander aimlessly because they never ask the right questions. You must interrogate yourself ruthlessly. Purpose will not whisper to you in comfort. It must be demanded from the depths of your soul. Ask yourself, who am I doing this for? Why does this matter to me? If I died tomorrow, what unfinished mission would haunt me? What principle do I refuse to betray, no matter the cost? What kind of example do I want to leave behind when I am gone? Do not answer lightly. Sit with the questions until they hurt, until the answers claw their way out of you. Purpose reveals itself in the wounds, in the things that keep you awake at night, in the visions that make your heart pound. When you find it, you will know. Because the moment you connect your suffering to that purpose, pain stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like honor. Write it down. Purpose cannot remain a vague idea in your head. The mind is slippery. It will rationalize, minimize, distort. You must capture your purpose in writing. Carve it into words you can see, read, and repeat daily. Write your why at the top of your goals list. Write it on your walls. Carry it in your journal. Review it every morning before you begin, and every night before you sleep. Let it be the first thought when you rise, and the last thought before you close your eyes. Because when you are broken, tired, and ready to quit, the written word will stand as your reminder. This is why I endure. This is why I bleed. Connect pain to values. Purpose is strongest when tied to your deepest values. Family, freedom, legacy, honor, impact. Choose the value that means the most to you, then link every act of discipline to it. For example, you are not just going to the gym. You are proving to your children what strength looks like. You are not just working late. You are buying freedom from mediocrity. You are not just saying no to temptation. You are honoring your commitment to legacy. When discipline becomes a reflection of your values, it transforms from a burden into a statement of who you are. Make it bigger than you. If your goals only serve you, they will die in isolation. But if your goals serve others, they will live forever. The warrior knows this truth. We endure far more for others than we ever would for ourselves. You might betray your own standards. You might compromise with your own weakness. But the thought of disappointing those who believe in you, that is a weight you cannot ignore. So tie your purpose to others. Make your discipline a beacon for them. Let your actions speak on their behalf. Because when you carry purpose beyond yourself, you stop being just an individual. You become a force. Practical implementation. Here's how to forge your purpose into daily life. Interrogate yourself. Spend an hour answering the 5 questions. Who, why, what, principle, legacy. Do not stop until the answers sting. Choose the core value. Family, freedom, honor, or impact. What matters most? Anchor everything to it. Write it down. Capture your purpose in clear words. Review them morning and night. Connect the dots. Every time you act with discipline, mentally tie it back to your purpose. This rep is for my family. This rejection is for my freedom. This suffering is for my legacy. Make it public. Share your why with those closest to you. Let them hold you accountable. Revisit. Often, purpose evolves. Reevaluate monthly to ensure your why still burns. If it fades, refine it. Closing the step. Step 3 is where the triangle transforms. Pain alone will break you. Daily hard alone will wear you down. But purpose makes everything sustainable. Purpose transforms torment into transformation. Without it, you are just grinding endlessly, waiting to collapse. With it, you are fueled by something greater than comfort, greater than fear, greater than yourself. So define your purpose. Etch it into your soul. Tie every ounce of suffering to it. Because when you know why you bleed, there is no force on earth that can make you quit. And when the world sees you refuse to fall, not because it's easy, not because you're special, but because your purpose demands it, they will know you are not just surviving, you are living with honor. Daily accountability. It is not enough to make a single declaration. Accountability must be consistent. Create daily systems of exposure. Post your progress publicly. Share updates with a trusted circle. Train with a partner who will call you out when you slack. Report to a mentor who demands receipts. Every day, put yourself in the position where others can see whether you followed through. Do not hide. Do not protect your ego. Force yourself into the light. Because every day you are seen. Every day you are asked. Every day you are measured. You grow sharper. Practical implementation. Here's how you weaponize public accountability. Make the vow. Choose the challenge you committed to in step 1. Speak it aloud. Share it clearly. No vagueness. Choose your audience. Identify 3 to 5 people whose respect matters to you. Declare your vow to them directly. Create a system. Pick how you will expose your progress daily. Journal, partner, public updates. Pick your weapon. Embrace the pressure. When you feel the shame of exposure, lean into it. Let it push you. Shame is not your enemy. It is your ally. Refuse to hide. Even when you fail, report it. Because public failure is fuel. It burns you to improve. Closing the step. Step 4 is where you burn the escape routes. No more silent promises. No more secret goals. No more quiet retreats into weakness. When you make it public, you eliminate the option to quit unseen. You build a wall of accountability so strong that your only options are victory or shame, and the warrior always chooses victory. So drag your vow into the light. Expose it. Declare it. Let the world know who you intend to become. And then, when the weight of their eyes presses against your back, smile. Because you know what the weak do not. Accountability is not a burden. It is armor. And with that armor, you cannot be stopped. Step 4. Make it public. Discipline dies in silence. It withers in the shadows of secrecy, where no one can see when you quit, when you compromise, when you betray yourself. That is where most people live, alone with their empty promises, quietly breaking them one by one until they become nothing but hollow echoes. If you truly want discipline to take root, you must drag it into the light. You must make it public. The weak hate this step because it exposes them. It removes the safety net of anonymity. It eliminates their ability to fail in private and pretend they never tried. But warriors understand the power of accountability. When you declare your intentions openly, you put your honor on the line. You create pressure that forces you forward, because the thought of looking weak in front of others becomes more painful than the suffering required to follow through. Why silence breeds weakness? In silence, weakness thrives. Think about it. How many times have you promised yourself you would start tomorrow? Eat better, train harder, build that business, write that book. And yet, because no one knew, because no one was watching, you quietly broke the promise. There was no consequence, no shame, no one to ask. Did you do what you said you would do? This is why the silent fail. Because the human mind is a master negotiator. Alone, you will always bargain with yourself. You will justify quitting. You will rationalize retreat. And because no one saw, you will pretend the war never happened. But when you make it public, when you carve your vow into the open air, the game changes. Accountability as a weapon. Accountability is not weakness. It is weaponry. It takes your fragile promise and fortifies it with the weight of expectation. When others know your goal, when others hear your declaration, you no longer have the luxury of slipping quietly into mediocrity. Your word has become currency. Your reputation is on the line. And warriors protect their reputation like a blade. They would rather bleed than be seen as dishonorable. Think of it like battle. Alone, you may retreat without consequence. But when your brothers in arms are beside you, when your commander is watching, when your tribe expects you to fight, you will not run. You will plant your feet, because shame is worse than death. This is why warriors make their commitments public, not to brag, not to show off, but to build a wall of accountability so strong that failure becomes unthinkable. The psychology of exposure. When you expose your goals, you activate something primal, the fear of shame. Humans are social creatures. For thousands of years, Exile was worse than death. To be cast out of the tribe meant certain destruction. This instinct remains within us. When you make your commitments public, you leverage this instinct in your favor. You weaponize your fear of shame. You create stakes that are higher than comfort. Suddenly quitting is not just disappointing yourself, it is humiliation. The weak avoid this feeling. The warrior uses it as fuel. Because when shame becomes more terrifying than pain, nothing will stop you from moving forward. Choose your audience. Not all exposure is equal. You must choose your audience wisely. The wrong audience. Strangers who don't care, toxic people who mock your effort, or those who secretly want you to fail. Sharing with them is useless or even damaging. The right audience. People you respect. People whose opinion matters. People you would hate to disappoint. These are the ones who sharpen your accountability. When you make your commitments public, choose the battlefield. Share with those whose respect you crave, whose disappointment would sting, whose acknowledgement fuels your pride. The warrior's declaration. Making it public is not casual. It is not a half-hearted mention. It is a declaration, a vow. Say it with weight. Say it with certainty. This is my challenge. This is my timeline. This is my mission. Once spoken, it is carved into stone. Others will hear it. Others will remember. And when they see you falter, when they see you hesitate, they will ask, "What happened to your vow?" That question is a blade pressed to your throat. It will keep you moving when your body wants to quit. Tracking your receipts. Proof must be recorded. Memory fades. Excuses creep in. Without a system, your proof will erode into forgetfulness. Keep a log. Write down what you promised and whether you followed through. Mark every rep, every session, every completed task. Build a ledger of evidence so undeniable that even your weakest self cannot argue with it. Because when the storm comes, you can look at the log and say, "This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is proof." Proof stacks into identity. At first, collecting proof feels small. One day, one rep, one act of discipline. But over time, the receipts stack. The more evidence you gather, the less you need to believe in yourself. Because you know. And when you know, you stop hoping you can rise, and you start expecting it. This is how warriors are made. Not by hype, not by fantasy, but by receipts, by undeniable proof, stacked daily until confidence becomes identity. Practical implementation. Here's how you collect proof relentlessly. Track every promise. Write down exactly what you commit to daily. No vagueness. Record the follow-through. At the end of the day, mark whether you kept it. Brutal honesty only. Stack small wins. Focus on the consistent execution of small promises over flashy one-time efforts. Guard the streak. Protect your record at all costs. A broken streak must sting enough to teach you. Celebrate receipts, not feelings. Stop caring how you feel. Start caring what evidence you've built. Review weekly. Look at your log. Let the evidence fuel your confidence. Let the receipts silence doubt. Closing the step. Step 5 is where talk dies forever. No more empty declarations. No more false confidence. No more fragile hopes. From now on, your discipline is built on proof. Collect receipts daily. Track them relentlessly. Stack them until they form an unshakable fortress around your identity. And when the world asks, "Who are you?" you won't need to answer with words. Your proof will speak for you. Because warriors are not defined by what they say. They are defined by the evidence of what they have done. And when you carry proof like armor, You cannot be broken. Step 5. Collect proof. Relentlessly. Words mean nothing. Intentions mean nothing. Hype, motivation, talk. None of it matters if you cannot back it with evidence. This is where most people die, in the space between what they say and what they actually do. They claim discipline, they claim hunger, they claim they're all in. But when you ask for receipts, when you demand proof, there is nothing. Just excuses, empty calendars, and hollow dreams. Do not become one of them. If you want discipline to stick, you must build evidence. Proof is the currency of confidence. Without it, you will always doubt yourself. With it, you will become unshakable. Why proof matters. Confidence is not a feeling. It is not some magical spark you hope will appear when you need it. Confidence is knowing, and knowing only comes from evidence. If you have proof, receipts of the promises you've kept, the challenges you've endured, the commitments you've honored, then no voice in your head can argue. Doubt cannot survive against evidence. This is why warriors collect proof relentlessly. Every representative, every early morning, every day they showed up when others quit. These are not just actions, they are receipts. They are stone tablets etched with the truth. I am who I say I am. The empty confidence of the weak. The weak build castles in the clouds. They pump themselves with affirmations, with motivational quotes, with the illusion that saying something enough times will make it true. But when life punches them in the mouth, their castles collapse. Why? Because they had no foundation, no proof. They mistake hype for discipline. They mistake intention for reality. They mistake noise for receipts. And so they remain fragile, forever chasing feelings instead of building evidence. Proof as armor. When you collect proof, you arm yourself. Every action completed is another plate of armor strapped to your body. Every promise kept is another weapon in your arsenal. When doubt whispers, you silence it by pointing to your receipts. I said I'd train every day, and I did. I said I'd create daily, and I did. I said I'd stay the course, and I did. Now when you walk into battle, you don't need hype. You don't need pep talks. You carry the weight of your own proof, and that weight crushes fear. Small promises, big consequences. The world loves to underestimate small promises. They think missing one day doesn't matter. Skipping one rep doesn't matter. Ignoring one vow doesn't matter. But small promises are the foundation of identity. Break enough of them, and you become someone who cannot be trusted, even by yourself. Keep them, and you become unstoppable. Discipline is built in the small. The drop of water that bores a hole through stone does not seem powerful at first, but with time, it reshapes mountains. This is why warriors guard their small promises fiercely, because they know that if they fail in the small, they will collapse in the large. Consistency over perfection. Proof is not about perfection. Perfection is a lie, a form of procrastination, a weapon of weakness. If you wait until conditions are perfect, you will never act. Proof is about consistency. Even messy victories count. Even ugly attempts count. What matters is that you did the thing when you said you would. That is the receipt. That is the evidence. Stack enough of those, and you become someone whose word is law. Not because you are flawless, but because you are relentless. Step 6. Transform discipline into identity. Discipline begins as a burden. At first, it feels like dragging chains through fire. You wrestle with resistance every morning. You negotiate with weakness every night. Every action feels like a war against yourself. But discipline cannot stay as effort forever. If it does, you will eventually collapse under the weight. The final evolution is when discipline fuses with your identity. When it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. This is the moment when the chains break. When action is no longer forced, but instinctive. When the hard choice becomes the default choice. When discipline becomes your nature. That is the destination. That is the sixth step. Why identity matters. Humans act in alignment with who they believe themselves to be. Identity always wins. If you believe you are weak, you will sabotage yourself even when trying to be strong. If you believe you are undisciplined, you will eventually prove yourself right. This is why most fail. They try to stack discipline on top of an identity that hasn't changed. They say, "I'll act disciplined until I become disciplined." But deep down, they still believe they are fragile, lazy, inconsistent. And eventually the identity pulls them back. The warrior knows this truth. Discipline becomes unbreakable only when it fuses with identity. You don't just do discipline, you're disciplined. You don't just practice strength, you are strength. From action to identity. How does this transformation happen? Through repetition and proof. At first, you act disciplined even when it feels unnatural. With proof, step 5. You build evidence that you can follow through. With enough evidence, you begin to believe. I am the kind of person who does this. Once belief fuses with action, identity locks into place. This is why the final step cannot exist without the first 5. Pain, daily hard, purpose, public accountability, and proof. All of them are bricks. Identity is the fortress built from them. The end of negotiation. The clearest sign that discipline has become identity is the end of negotiation. Before, every action was a debate. Should I train today? Do I feel like it? Maybe I'll start tomorrow. You wasted energy fighting yourself. Now there is no debate. There is no, should I? There's only, this is what I do. Just as you don't debate brushing your teeth, you don't debate discipline. It has become reflex. This is freedom. Because once discipline is identity, you conserve all your energy for execution. You no longer burn mental fuel fighting weakness. You simply act. Discipline is self-respect. When discipline becomes identity, it stops being punishment and starts being respect. You no longer force yourself to act. You act because anything less would dishonor you. The warrior does not skip training, not because they fear failure, but because skipping would violate their sense of self. The warrior does not betray their commitments, not because they fear consequences, but because betrayal would shatter their honor. This is the highest level, when discipline is not about external pressure, not about fear, not even about goals, but about who you are. The warrior. Identity. What is the warrior identity? It is not perfection. It is not an absence of weakness. It is relentless alignment between who you claim to be and how you act. A warrior says, I do not run from pain. I do not wait for motivation. I do not break my word. I do not bow to weakness. And then they live it daily. This consistency fuses into their identity. Soon others see it. They no longer question whether you are disciplined. They know it. It radiates from you like armor. Practical implementation. Here's how to transform discipline into identity. Affirm with evidence. Stop empty affirmations. Instead, reinforce your identity with proof. I am disciplined because I showed up yesterday, and the day before, and today. Eliminate negotiation. Remove choice from the equation. Set non-negotiable rituals that you execute daily without debate. Tie it to honor. Discipline is not about outcomes. It is about self-respect. Break your word, and you dishonor yourself. Keep it, and you strengthen identity. Shift your language. Stop saying, "I'm trying." Start saying, "This is who I am." Language rewires belief. Guard against decay. Identity can erode if you let weakness creep back in. Protect your habits. Protect your rituals. Do not allow compromise to take root. Live publicly. Let your actions declare your identity louder than your words. When others see it, it reinforces who you are. Closing the step. Step 6 is the final transformation. It is where effort ends and identity begins. It is where you stop pretending, stop negotiating, stop trying, and simply become. Pain gave you fuel. Daily hard trained your will. Purpose gave you direction. Public accountability gave you pressure. Proof gave you evidence. And now, all of it fuses into identity. This is where you no longer ask, "Can I endure?" You simply know, "This is who I am. I endure." That is the final stage of discipline. Not a temporary practice, not a fragile resolution, but an unshakable identity that cannot be taken from you. And once you reach this point, you are no longer chasing discipline. You are discipline. You are the warrior. Now you've seen it. The triangle is complete. 6 steps that carve discipline into your bones and fuse it into your identity. First, you chose your pain because you understood there's no escaping it, only selecting the form that will forge you instead of destroy you. Then, you trained with daily hard, stripping away excuses until discomfort became your default. You defined your purpose, tying your suffering to a mission greater than yourself, transforming torment into fuel. You made it public, burning the bridges back to weakness, forcing yourself into the light where honor mattered more than comfort. You collected proof relentlessly, stacking receipts until doubt had no room to breathe, until evidence spoke louder than empty words. And finally, you transformed discipline into identity, ending negotiation forever, becoming the kind of warrior who doesn't try to act disciplined, because discipline is who you are. This is the path. This is the system. This is the triangle that separates the soft from the unbreakable, the pretenders from the warriors, the living from the truly alive. Most people will never walk it. They'll collapse under comfort. They'll trade freedom for ease. They'll spend their lives hiding from the very pain that was meant to forge them. And when their time runs out, they'll realize they were never really living. They were only surviving. But not you. Not if you choose this path. Because now you know. And knowing comes with responsibility. The responsibility to act. The responsibility to embody. The responsibility to become. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating. Stop dreaming. Forge your life through pain. Fuel it with purpose. Anchor it with proof. And wear discipline as your identity. And when the world sees you smile at suffering, when they see you walk into storms that break others, when they see you refuse to quit, when everything inside you screams to stop, they will know. They will know you are not like them. They will know you are a warrior. They will know you are unstoppable.